Hi guys, welcome back to another part of this series. Today we're going to continue with the sci-fi helmet, so let's get to it. This is where we left off, and I actually went ahead and I updated some of the retopology so for some of the pieces. As you can see, all of the back pieces right here. There's a couple of things that we need to fix, like all of these big pieces back here. But everything's looking quite nice. The one thing that I noticed though is that there's a couple of holes in the geometry, and I've talked about this before in some of my courses, where especially when you're dealing with bakes, you have two options, right? That whenever you're dealing with bakes, and we want to bake this thing down into a game asset, whenever you're dealing with bakes, you have to make the decision of whether or not you're going to have something called a watertight mesh, which is just a single like hole, a single mesh that encompasses or grabs every single piece, or if you're going to have multiple pieces, right? I think we're going to go for the multiple pieces routes, especially because the horns are very organic and they would benefit from being, well, a little bit more organic in the retopology. And then we're gonna do all of the rest of the pieces right here. Now the problem, if we go back here, the problem is that there's a lot of holes on the elements. You can see there's a lot of places on the element on the helmet where we have like this sort of holes, and those are really difficult to work around, because either you do retopology piece by piece, which is a perfectly valid option, or you're gonna have to go in there and then out, and it just becomes a really like not ideal way to to do things. So what we're going to start with is we're going to patch a couple of those up. And the cool thing is, since we're working with this sort of like sci-fi effect or sci-fi helmet, we can get away with having just like Gribble. I've mentioned this before. For those of you that are not aware about this concept, there's this concept called Gribble. I think it's Gribble 3D. I think it's spelled that way. And Gribble with double E. So Gribble is just noise. It's noise that we add onto pieces. The best example I can give you guys is the Millennium Falcon. We've mentioned this before. And this is just like paneling and stuff and cables and pipes and things that don't make sense from an engineering standpoint. Like, it doesn't really need to make sense. It just looks cool, right? So we're going for that sort of like rule of cool effect. So for instance, there, right? Like we have that little like space right there. So I'm gonna use a cube, and I'm just gonna try and fit this cube into that particular area. I'm gonna change everything to object, so the scale into object mode. So we'll scale on its axis, and it's a little bit easier to kind of find the specific shape. Now, as you can see right here, we might need to play around with the shapes a little bit more to make sure that we're still following this sort of graphic shape or graphic language that we had before. So something like this, that's perfectly fine. As you can see, it looks interesting. It's kind of like an arrow pointing forward, and of course we can give it a nice bevel. Let's bring the fraction down. I am gonna add one more segment there, so it's a little bit soft, something like that. And there we go. Again, it kind of has this sort of like play with the rest of the elements, and it's going to make it easier because when we do the retopology, we're not going to have to go on top of every single piece. Yes, we're still going to have a couple of those little holes right there. Those I'm not too concerned about. The big holes are the ones that really worry me. You can see I did something similar with this like block right here, and I think this one as well. So those two little blocks there kind of like fill in the rest of the helmet. Now for this one, we definitely do want to have a cleaner shape, right? Like some sort of like paneling that sort of follows this. And if you remember from the first sessions of this video or of this series, we were actually gonna have this sort of like circuitry, right? Like some sort of like stuff going in there. So what we can do here is I'm gonna isolate this real quick, and we're gonna create like a plane that follows this sort of shape. So I'm gonna go into live surface, and with my quad draw, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see if it lets me. It needs to see the 4 points. Nah, it's not really letting me. I thought it was going to let me do that. That's fine. Another way to do it is I'm just going to grab this right here, this right here, and this right here. So now with this shape selected, what I can do is I can just go from here to here, bridge, and then delete this ones. And we get this shape. And the reason I did that is I wanted to get like the angle of the main thing, which is close to this one. It might not be the exact same one, but it's quite close. Now what we can do is we can scale this thing up, and we're definitely going to give it a little bit of thickness because we want to cover some of this stuff. The visor that we're gonna have eventually is not gonna be transparent. Like we're not gonna see through the visor, but I just want to have a little bit of that sort of like depth on this area. As you can see, there's still gonna be a couple of holes here and there, but we can manage. Let's grab this points right here. Let's bring them down, bring them in. Grab this ones right there, push them in, push them there again. We're just kind of like we just want to kind of create this sort of like a layering effect, right? So this are gonna be like this section right there is gonna be again like the circuits of the element. This thing right here, I don't particularly love it because again it's kind of like a floating, and again the floating bits and pieces are always a little bit complicated. So I'm gonna opt to rotate this slightly so that it merges with that piece that we just created, and that way again when we do the retopology we don't have to worry about all of those points. Like this points right here, let's get them in, let's get them up, and there we go. Because the retopology is going to be a little bit complex. Like even this little hole right there, those are the kind of stuff that makes it a little bit complicated. Let's grab these two pieces. Well, first this one right here, to make sure that it does not create any weird effects. I'm just gonna bevel it and give it 2 segments and a small fraction. There we go. We grab these two guys. There we go. Shift right click, and we're gonna mirror this to the positive X, and there we go. There's gonna be another one here. We delete that one, and that's it. So now, as you can see, the helmet is completely full. What I mean by this is like every single piece is like filled, right? Like this hole right there, I'm not too worried about. Like let's grab the horns real quick, and I'm gonna Control G and hide them. So this is what we're eventually gonna be retopologizing, and I'm even tempted to, like this pieces right here, they're probably gonna be a separate piece as well. So this is what we're actually looking at. Now here, I definitely want to do a couple of changes again, based on my experience. If you keep things too far away from each other, then it can be a really pain in the you know where. Can I say that word? Are we gonna get censored if I say that? I'm not sure, but let's not risk it. So I'm just gonna change the sign here a little bit to keep this sort of like a round shape, as you can see there, which is where the horns are gonna be coming from. And as long as everything else is see single mesh, we should be fine. I'm also gonna be adding let's do this one, a mirror as well to the other side. I'm also probably gonna be adding some sort of like sphere on the inside, so that we don't have all of this like hollow points and things. So there's definitely gonna be something holding everything in a again like a watertight mesh. But yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if you guys remember when we first were working on these things, I created this locator that saves the information on the scale of the object. However, since we've done so much like tweaking and movement from the original one to this new one, I don't think we need it anymore. What we need is just bringing the other elements back and just exporting everything as a single object. So what I'm gonna do here is first let's grab every single piece that's not the horns and not the ears. So all of those points right there. I'm gonna press number 3. Actually, that's fine. Even if let's just cancel. So again, just grab everything here, and I'm just gonna combine. Not that one. We can actually delete that one. Whoa. No, we can't delete that one, of course. Let's delete that one. There we go. So this is the actual helmet. Now that I think about this, we did have several like pieces that were not like perfectly fine. So I'll take that back, and let's just go back to the original plan, which was to grab all of these pieces right here. Let's parent them here, and then if you guys remember, we can Shift P to bring them out, or rather, let's parent them. Let's select all the geometry, not the locator, and then parent this to the locator, and then the locator, we bring this back to 1. There we go. So that's the original size in Zbrush, and we bring this down. So this is the original size of our helmet in Zbrush. So now we can grab all of the pieces. Well, not every single piece, like all of the ones that, as you can see here, that we already had in Zbrush. We probably can skip those ones. So let's start getting rid of some of this. Let's get rid of the locator. There we go. So not that one. If I see that there's been like dynamics and stuff, we don't need. So there we go. So all of these pieces that I see right here, these are the ones that we're actually going to be using. So all of those I'm going to combine into a single piece so that we can smooth them at the same time. And we're just going to say File, Export Selection. Let's set the project real quick. I know it's 2021, but we're currently in 2022. It's just that this is the the old folder where I saved everything. And we're gonna go to the sci-fi helmet. There we go. Let's call this. Oh wait. First, let's set this project. There we go. Assets, sci-fi helmet, sci-fi pieces. And let's go to Zbrush. I did move a couple of things around here in Maya, so that means that I'm probably gonna have to move them a little bit inside of Zbrush as well. But yeah, let's see what happens. Whew. So yeah, I mean, in regards to life, guys, there's been a lot of work over here at the studio. We've been unfortunately the client that we're working with right now doesn't really understand the time frames that you normally need to do something, and they're expecting things to be delivered super fast. And that of course is quite draining, quite draining. We've been working a lot of extra hours, and the team that I'm working with right now, they're a really cool team, but they're learning as everyone else. So there's still a couple of things, or not a couple, quite a bit of things that I need to do myself. Let's delete this one because we're no longer going to need it. And let's say append. We're going to append the sphere. And then on that sphere, we're going to say import. And we're going to import our sci-fi pieces. There we go. Now it did get imported into like a different scene. That's fine. We're just going to append it back here. So append. We're actually going to use that that sphere. So there we go. And as you can see, it matches perfectly with what we had. It's a little bit like further back. Let me turn everything off except for our character. So yeah, as you can see, there's enough room for the head, which I'm really happy with. That means that nothing is like really pushing towards his head. Let's give us a couple of subdivisions, which is pretty much like placing or activating number 3 inside of Maya. And now I am gonna start turning on some of these pieces to see and make sure that they're like where I expect them to be. So, there we go. So as you can see, things are overlapping in a slightly different way than what I had in Maya. So I'm just gonna like move this thing back. Same for this one. It's all about the design, like making sure the design looks cool. This one seems to be, or has to be a little bit like further out actually. There we go. I'm a little bit worried about the, what's the word? There we go. Like this hole that we have right there. It's a little bit weird. I'm not sure why we have it. I mean, one thing we can do is just push this thing further forward. I don't particularly like that idea. Did I scale this thing? I don't remember if I scaled this thing. But since this is the high poly, we can still play around with this sort of stuff. Like that looks a little bit better. I'm still not sold on these pieces right here. So let's turn on symmetry and use just our move brush. The good thing is that there should be fairly easy to just like push back a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's it. That looks pretty nice. This thing is definitely... Whoa, what happened to this thing? Oh, that's unfortunate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way down to poly groups. Let's auto group, select this thing, invert the selection, and delete hidden. We need to delete all of the subdivision levels to do that. So we're going to go subtool. And we're going to say... sorry, not subtool, geometry. And delete lower. And now delete hidden. And that those pieces get deleted. For some reason, this piece right here it has n-gons. It seems to have some n-gons. There we go. That's an n-gon. Let's get rid of that one. I don't know. I honestly don't know why Maya does this. It's a really unfortunate. I actually haven't like taken the time to really read and see if there's like an actual fix to this. But it's really annoying that Maya creates n-gons when you do the mirror option. So I'm gonna say edit mesh, extract to get this piece out. And here's a very quick way to see if you have n-gons on a piece. For instance, I can definitely tell that there's some endguns here. Why I have those endguns, I can't tell you. To be honest, I'm not sure why I have those endguns. That's bad modeling on my side because I should have had like a bevel there. There's a, I mean, relatively easy fix. It's not gonna be super clean, but we can literally just like go around like that. And the reason why this is not super clean is because the cut tool, unfortunately, I mean, it does have a way to be a little bit more precise, but I just wanna keep moving here. Let's do one more. Because it's the back part, so we're not really gonna see this. And this is the high poly. Again, that's one of the things that I always mention. In high polys, you can actually cheat quite a bit. There we go. So a quick way to check if you have an endgun. You select the object, you go mesh, clean up. You do not clean up. You select the matching polygons and you select faces with more than 4 sides. And if you hit apply and you get something, that means that there's an endgun. Like all of those points that we're getting there, that's something telling me that there's a problem. I'm not sure what the problem is. Let's not select this, guys. So just faces with more than 4 sides. There we go. And if you don't select anything, that means that you're clean. So file, export selection. I'm actually gonna export this as an OBJ. I'm gonna call this bottom part, and we're just gonna go here. And remember the sphere that we had? Let's just use that one because it was just a placeholder, right? So there we go. Perfect. So now, as you can see, we have this very cool complete element on our scene. Like this guy looks quite nice, but we are missing one of the most important things, which are the details, like the little decals and stuff that we can add. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna turn off the characters. I'm just gonna leave this guy. I might actually turn everything else off as well. So like the horns and the little ears that we have. Where are the ears? This guy's. There we go. So just leave this guy right there. Now, if you want, you're free to just like grab things and move them around if you need to. Again, the cool thing about having like clean subdivision models is that this is a fairly easy process. I'm gonna use move topological here to just move this guy, and again, create a little bit of overlap because I know that all of those like crevices and stuff, they're not the end of the world, but they can make things a little bit complicated on the baking side of things. So the cleaner the joint can be, the happier our lives are gonna be once we go into the retopology. I want to see if I can get this done by Friday. Friday we get the Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm really excited about that game. It's one of the highlights of my week. I'm really hoping it's. I've been reading some of the reviews and it's they've been quite positive so far, but I just want to play it. I just want to see how it plays. Let's clean some of the shapes up. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like me to do like a little live stream and we can play some Xenoblades. I can't promise we're gonna be analyzing everything because I do want to enjoy the game, but if you guys wanna watch the intro, like maybe the first hour or something, let me know. We can plan it out. Cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna be using something called live booleans, and live booleans are really powerful to add those sort of details to every single piece right here. So I'm gonna go all the way down here. I'm gonna append a new piece, just a simple sphere, for instance. And this sphere, I'm just gonna move it out of the way. Whoop. Just move it out of the way, and I'm gonna set this sphere to negative right here. And we're gonna turn on live booleans. So technically, if that sphere were to be like up here, it would be, as you can see, removing pieces from the character, which actually that looks quite nice, but that's not what we're going for. Do we want like a sphere there? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. So it's just gonna be up there. And but we're gonna use that sphere as a sort of like placeholder again to use a very cool brush that we have here, which is called Imm Bullions. Actually, I believe it's the Boolean. Yeah, this one, Imm Bullion. And as you can see, we have all of these crazy sci-fi pieces. It's not a lot of them. It's probably like 40 or 50. You can make your own or download more of them. It's a really cool way to create something special. So for instance, I'm gonna grab this like holes option right here, and if I insert this one, look at that. We immediately get a nice like hole option or hole insert right there. So one thing I definitely want to do is I want to turn on symmetry. There we go. So yeah, that's it. We just add that those spots right there, and that makes it look quite nice. Let's add some more spots like right here. By the way, we can do this in the texturing department like later on, but having this here allows us to bake all of this information into a normal map and into an ambient occlusion map, especially the ambient occlusion one, which is going to allow us to have like a little bit of dirt and stuff inside of the elements. Don't worry, when we do the retopology, we're not actually going to go over every single like place there. Like it's not like a it's not like we're going to be retopologizing every single little like indentation or anything. It's just a general effect. So for instance, like you don't want to overdo it. Also, like you don't want to go like super hard on this sort of stuff. You can see some of them are really like extreme, like that one. But for instance, this line circle, right? So we can very easily add some like lines with a circle, like right there. And trying to sculpt that, if you try to sculpt that, it would definitely be a lot more difficult than it. Than using this technique. So let's just do something simple there. I want to keep it kind of clean though. Like I do want to add some details, but not a lot of them. For instance, on this piece, I think we can add something. Oh, I love this one. The oval details for like exhausts and stuff like that. They look really cool. So for instance, this one. Remember we had like some sort of like. We can do like a couple of them right there. That could look interesting. Or we can use this MG dot. Yeah, that looks even better. Let's try to keep this as center as possible. And then we do like small ones here. And the cool thing about live booleans is the fact that they're geometries, right? So all of these things that we're doing, they're geometries and they're going to be calculated as such. And therefore the detail is really crisp. It's really nice. And I think that's a little bit too much. Yeah, again, I don't want to overdo it. Thermal band. Okay, yeah, I like that one. Make another one of those right there. And like this panel needs a little bit something. Heatsink. These are cool. So just a small heatsink right there. Or actually, I think that one would look good with like a, yeah, like some sort of screws. Same like here, I think. A couple of latches there. Looks interesting. I kind of want to have something there, like in this section right there. What can we add? Etch bar. Oh yeah, that looks interesting. Again, all of this is going to be baked into the normal map, so don't worry about the complexity that we're adding. Yeah, that looks good. Cylinder cut-in. Oh, that's nice. Let's add that one on the back. Kind of like, there we go. Kind of like, you know, hinges or something. And then I'm just going to use like this power decal. Just add a couple of these ones in certain areas. Just to add a detail. Now, again, I am going to show you later on, once we do textures, how we can add this sort of stuff in the texturing department, in case you missed it, or in case you didn't know about this frame right here. I'm wondering if something like this looks cool. Nah, that's too much, right? Yeah, I think this one I want to keep it clean. Same for this one's, like, yes, we can add, like, complexity on this areas right there. But it's going to be a little bit too much Gribble, I think. And I think it's going to be better if we texture that. Just some textures. Let me see, like, this latch right here looks interesting. As you can see, these things can even, like, remove certain pieces of your element. And yes, we're going to have to retopologize that. So careful there. So a lot of the hard work that you did in other parts of the process could be gone here. I think we're gonna keep it like this. I don't want to, again, I don't want to overdo it. I think with paint and stuff we can play around and create something interesting. But yeah, there we go. So now what we need to do is we need to create this or convert this into an actual mesh, because right now this is just a preview that Zbrush has. So we're gonna go here to Boolean, and we're just gonna say make a Boolean mesh. And once we do that, as long as this thing worked properly, we should have a nice Boolean. A little bit of a drink there. So there we go. This is the Imm Mesh, and this is our high poly. Now, one thing that I did notice is, or one thing that we need to notice here, is the fact that we still have a little bit of like smoothing issues with the base shape. So I'm actually gonna go back. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna smooth these guys a couple more times, so they're like super crisp and super clean. Because when you do the Boolean mesh, you can't do any more subdivision. Like using Booleans, we've mentioned this before. Booleans are not bad, they're just really destructive. It's a really destructive way to work, so you really need to know what you're doing in order not to fall into like the usual traps that people fall into when working with Booleans. One of those is the one that I just showed you. If you're working with a very low resolution mesh and you project a really smooth resolution Boolean onto it, then the smooth, like the cut part, will be very smooth, but the original mesh, which is really low poly, will look horrible. So again, careful there. So now we jump this one, which is a lot better. Let's go here. Let's go to the horns. Let's go here again, and now I'm gonna create a new like subtool, a new tool here instead of, or not subtool, a new tool here instead of Zbrush that has the pieces that we're gonna be retopologizing. So this one, here's the first one. Let's just grab the horns. There we go, and we're gonna append. Well, go back to the horns, select the ears, and then go back to this one, and now we append the ears. You will, when you hit append, you will always append whatever active tool you left on the other subtool. So there we go. Now, as you can see, this looks really good. This is our high poly. There's of course a couple of things I want to do. For instance, the horns need to be further forward like this, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe move this horn a little bit so that they're coming from the helmet like that. And that's it. That's pretty much it. There's one more thing I want to sculpt, but I'm gonna leave that for tomorrow. Because we're already running a little bit long on the video here, and I want to add like this sort of like cushioning thing on the outside or on the bottom here, so that we don't have this sort of thing. So yeah, that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. I think that the high poly here is looking quite nice. I'm gonna get some an interesting render from this one, and I'll see you back on the next one. Make sure to leave a like, share, subscribe. I know I forgot about the commercial. I'm not gonna play it. If you watched all the way until now, then thank you very much for your support. But just remember that we do have the Skillshare promotion. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye bye.